Hello and welcome back to the GorillaBiker. And today it's a little bit more of a classic rant on the way home video. Because I don't know, has everyone seen it? Quite a few people seen it actually. It was more popular than most of my recent videos. The video I did on the CFMoto 675, look this way please, thank you, 675SS video. And you know, obviously I was expecting mixed comments. I got some interesting messages sent to me on Instagram, as is the norm for people who disagree but can't really vocalize why they disagree about my body shape and size. It's always an interesting one. And you know, I've been asked why I don't share those ones, and honestly I think a lot of the time people send those type of messages because like I have been known to share on my stories you know, comments or messages like that in the past, and honestly I don't bother anymore because it has seemed to have you know, it seemed to have opened up. You know, if I put it up in the story, then more people think that they can message me and tell me you know, how I can look slightly different and whatnot, and it doesn't matter. But the whole point of this video is that particular video did raise some comments, and I want to kind of rant about some of them. You know, as well as talk about some other things. I think last time I went right here and it was nice, so we're going to go right here. But yeah, the CFMoto, right? And you know, it's one thing. One particular person left a comment about you know, the fact that obviously CFMoto, if you don't know, CFMoto makes stuff on contract for KTM, and I personally, that's completely normal in modern manufacturing, that you know, people will basically contract out a lot of stuff. The company I work for makes stuff on contract for other pharmaceutical companies, for instance. Very normal in manufacturing. But people are, you know, saying, oh, you know, KTM's recent reliability issues and whatnot, and fair enough, if they're making those parts and they're not making them to scratch, you know, they should be held to account, and they will be by KTM, who, you know, because KTM will obviously have to fix things under warranty, and then they'll pass back on that cost to CFMoto. However, ultimately, you know, the reason behind the failures or whatever else is KTM give specifications to CFMoto. CFMoto make engines or whatever else it might be to KTM specifications. The ultimate, you know, final quality check lies with KTM. Like, for instance, if I make parts in work, and I don't work on the contract side, but if I did, and you know, if I ever went back to doing stuff like that, if you make stuff on contract, you do your own quality checks, and then they go out the door to the person who you're making the parts for, and they do their quality checks, and if you don't pass, they send them back, and it costs you lots of money, right? So like I said, ultimately the final quality check lies with KTM. I mean, it's their baby, right? It's not CFMoto. So I do find it hilarious that people are completely blaming CFMoto for that. Obviously, if they're putting out manufacturing defects and stuff that, you know, they are inspecting for KTM, then, you know, shame on them. But like I said, they're going to have to ultimately pay for that, and it'll all get sorted. And any new bike that ever comes out, any new car that comes out, anything that comes out has, you know, quality issues. It's inherent in any manufacturing process these days, unfortunately. Because, you know, you're given a budget, the budget is ultimately too small, and the timeline isn't long enough, and, you know, your resources are limited. It's the nature of modern manufacturing. It's make it as fast as you can, as cheap as you can. And I hate that about manufacturing, but that's what it is. Now, where I do take issue, and I saw the same thing when I made the video about the Vantru motorcycle dash cam system, for lack of a better term. You know, there was one person who actually, he put in the same comment twice, and I deleted the second one because he put in the second one like months later, but it was basically a copy and paste, and honestly read like AI or like a bot or whatever else that a competitor was paying for, which it just read weird. But one of the complaints was the voice on the camera is Chinese, and you know what that is? That's a word that starts with R and ends with an acism. Who cares? You know, like, who cares? People have accents. You know, if you're speaking English and you're from XYZ, you have an accent. I live in North Carolina. I don't sound like I'm from North Carolina. But because people don't have an issue with Irish people living here, that's not an issue. It's like, oh, you have a cool accent. You know, if someone speaks like they're Chinese in English, like you can tell they have a Chinese accent or whatever, and they're speaking English. Who cares? It's really weird that that's something you'd hang your hat on, you know, to bash a company about a camera system. It's nonsense. It's absolute nonsense. And you know, that's what I take issue with. You know, one particular comment on the CFMoto thing. It's like, oh well, you know, it's they're making these here, and it's basically slavery, blah blah blah. Yeah, right. I make videos on bikes. I focus on the bikes part of it. I am not some kind of protester. I'm not an activist, and it's not that I don't care. It's just that I genuinely don't feel like I can make a difference. You know what I mean? Because at the end of the day, if I was to say, right, well, I'm never buying a CFMoto product because they don't pay their employees the amount I feel like they should be paid, and I don't, by the way. I feel like everyone should be able to live comfortably on the money they make, and obviously in certain cases I could leave the country I was born in. Most people can't. You know, it's not an option that most people have. I'm lucky enough that I did have that option. And I do definitely get paid better for the same job over here, and I have more buying power over here, etc., right? And a lot of people, it's funny, will tell you that, yo, well, you couldn't pay me to move to America. Fair enough. Those are the same people who've never visited America and definitely have never lived here. I quite like it over here. It's nice. Anyway, I digress. My biggest issue with that is, you know, people are like bashing CFMoto because they're made in China and, you know, they don't pay their employees enough. And my point to one of those people was, you know, I will give CFMoto more leeway than I'll give other established companies, because CFMoto are Chinese. You know, they're working within a system that they did not set up. Whether that system is right or wrong, that's what the system is, right? And, you know, they're paying the wages and they're following the labor laws in that particular place. Again, whether it's right or wrong, I'm not going to comment on, other than what I said earlier about everyone should be able to live comfortably on what they make for doing a job, in my opinion. And don't get me into the whole like, oh, well, that's a bad job and they should get a better one, because if you say that, imagine every single person didn't do that job anymore, then where are you? I guarantee you, people who say that wouldn't last a day doing the job that they think is beneath them somehow. There's no job beneath anyone, in my opinion. And I firmly believe that anyone, you know, who is born with a silver spoon up their rectum, for instance, so to speak, you know, are they lucky? Sure. Are they going to have an easier life? Sure. I'm not jealous of them. You know, that's a good thing. That's a good thing. You should be, you know, you should be kind of happy for said people, because, you know, they were they won the lottery of life. Yeah, you know, it is what it is. You know, not everyone can be born lucky. Most people are born in the middle, you know what I mean? And obviously some people are born in a very unlucky situation for whatever reason. It is what it is. Now, I give less leeway to companies who, for instance, were born and bred in the UK and moved their operations to, say, India, to save lots and lots of money, because in that situation you have you know, a company that knowingly is moving to somewhere with worse labor laws and verifiably worse, you know, quality of life for the people who live and work there, right? And that's just a fact. It's not like, you know, it's not like if you were to go visit India, you'd be like, whoa, 98% of the population here is just loving life, you know. Oh, whoa, they're so lucky, I wish I was them. You would not say that. Not that India isn't a nice country. I have personally never been there. However, I have seen enough photos, videos, and spoken to enough people from India to know that most people don't have it great, you know. And I'm not saying that most people have it great anywhere. I love the way the Tundras have that back window that opens. I think that's cool. My point being, like I said, I give CFMoto more leeway than I would give companies who, you know, are actually based in a particular country with good solid labor laws, but they decide to not, you know, do the job and keep their factories in that country because they can save money by paying people less. I'll put it that way. They don't move to increase quality. You know, they don't move to, you know, increase the quality of life for their employees. And they don't move for anything like that. They move purely to just save money. Now, if that's a case that they had to do that to survive as a company, you know, there's arguments to be had there. And obviously, I don't want to see any motorcycle manufacturer disappear. And, you know, if it's a case like Triumph, I give Triumph props. I think Triumph did. They used to make kind of their, you know, their big budget bikes in England. I don't know, is that still the case? And they shipped X amount of production off, I believe, to India, right? And you know, sometimes the way the world has gone is that it is necessary. They need to make things to a price point for people to buy them, and to survive as a company. Maybe that is the way they had to go. I'm not a businessman. I could never be a businessman because I don't think I'd make any money. I'm also not a socialist. I do think people should work for their money and work, you know, and actually have to do their job or whatever. But none of that's important. My point being is, you know, if you want to bash CFMoto for being CFMoto because they're Chinese, I really think you should take a look at yourself, because, like, even if something is you know, built and assembled, for instance, in America, look at how many of the components that go into that, whatever it might be, are made in China and are made in somewhere that is, you know, not good. Or if you have an iPhone, you literally can't say anything because that's made in Foxconn, which is, again, a verifiable terrible place for people to work. You know what I mean? And that's not saying the phone I have is any better. You know, I have a OnePlus. I'm sure that's made somewhere that I would find very distasteful if I was to visit. You know, the precious metals that go into a lot of the equipment you use, computers and all that stuff, they're probably mined under terrible, terrible conditions. My whole point about saying, hey, CFMoto made this bike to a price point that I appreciate is because I make X amount. And conceivably making X amount and still paying my rent and bills and all that other stuff, I could conceivably afford the CFMoto 675 SS brand new if I was to sell the Z900RS, for instance, which I'm not going to do, so I'm not going to get it, right? I can tell you I'm not selling the Z900RS in order to do that. However, I'm also, like, I don't lie to myself, which is, again, why I'm not an activist. I don't think I can do anything about it. You know, you have to look at things like, oh, well, you know, I don't lie to myself and say, hey, everything I buy and everything I spend my money on is going to people who have a great work-life balance and have as much money as they need to live a good, healthy, comfortable life, because that's a lie. And I don't believe in that, you know, lying to yourself about these things. I would love to be able to spend locally, you know, walk down to the place where the bike is built and hand that person my money. But again, the trade-off would be too big there. You'd be paying too much for something that's not going to like last like this. You know, that's why I do actually love Japanese motorcycles. Again, I haven't looked into this enough, but a lot of Japanese motorcycles are built in factories where people are paid well and do have a decent quality of life. You know, Japanese work culture, from what I know of it, is weird to me, and I personally wouldn't want to work there because, you know, I don't think working yourself to the bone is something to aspire to, per se. Which, you know, is from what I've read, and again, I've never been there, so I'm not going to talk too much about it. From what I've read, that is something that they aspire. You know, falling asleep at work and stuff. It's like, oh, they're working hard. No, they're tired. That's not good. You know, it's the same as over here. I have heard people in America who I have worked with be like, I don't use my PTO. You know, that means I'm not a hard worker. What are you talking about? If I have 25 days paid days off a year, I am using 25 paid days off per year. I work in order to do the things that I want to actually do in life. You think if I was to wake up tomorrow and someone told me, hey, you don't need money anymore, you can do whatever the hell you want, you think I'd just go back into work? No, absolutely not. I'd go ride my bike places. I'd explore. I'd meet people. I'd work on bikes. I'd help people work on bikes. I'd fix bikes. You know, that is what I would do if money was no object. But unfortunately, that is not the world. It just isn't. So I find all these comments where, you know, people bash CFMoto just for the fact they're Chinese, a little bit misguided and kind of wrong. You know, you have to take them for what they are, which is a fledgling company, realistically. And, you know, hopefully, if it was the case that, okay, I need to go straight across. Yeah, I forgot I'm going into Clayton. Let's pull in here to finish this video off, because I do need to be somewhere. we'll go in there. I knew that was a big old perking lot. You know, take them for what they are, fledgling company. And, you know, I would hope if they go ahead and make a load of money or whatever else, maybe they will, you know, treat their people better, pay them better, and keep, you know, developing bikes and, you know, doing stuff like that, because that to me would be a cool thing. You know, where you see them and they're like, oh well, you know, we've made this much money, let's improve our community. I think that would be a cool thing to do. But yeah, while you have big companies moving away from, you know, their country of origin, say, and moving jobs out of their country of origin, I wouldn't be holding them up on a pedestal as a comparison to CFMoto. I wouldn't personally bash them either, because like I said, I'm not a businessman. But I do think, you know, ragging on CFMoto just because they're Chinese is kind of, I don't know. I think it's a bit misguided. You know, I think that's the way I would put it. I think it's misguided, and I think it's just a bit wrong. So, you know, let's all take a look at ourselves and realize that, you know, we're not perfect. No one is perfect, and maybe it's a case that you give them a chance and actually let them see, do they improve their situation. I don't know how I would keep up with that. You know, let's bash someone like Damon Motorcycles. Damon Motorcycles, who to my knowledge still haven't delivered a bike. I talked about them many years ago when I still lived in Cork and was riding the Phaser. You know, again, they had some good ideas, but as far as I know, they just took people's deposits and never actually built anything. And again, maybe they delivered 1 or 2 bikes, but Vaporware would come to mind. Promised a lot, didn't deliver anything. Kind of like a lot of, you know, some of the stuff Tesla have talked about in the past. The new Roadster and all that, for instance. So, yeah, where am I going over there? Okay. Yeah, so, I don't know. Like I said, maybe just give them a chance. And please don't leave comments about my weight and whatnot. It's nonsensical, as is bashing. And again, it'd be different if it was, in my opinion, if it was a multinational American company who go in and build a factory in China, for instance, just to make things cheaply. I would definitely judge that more than a Chinese company making things in China. Or someone left a comment and said some CFMoto stuff's being built in Mexico. You know, is the quality of life in Mexico better than the area in China? I don't know, but they're expanding, they're doing what they can. Maybe go build your own factory, make bikes in America, and then come back and talk to me, and that's why I try not to judge, because it's not like I can do better. That's how I'll put it. Yeah, I don't know, a little mini rant. Anyway, I better get to my dinner. I'm going meeting people, so talk to you later. As always, a very special thank you to all of my patrons. And until next time, please leave comments and I'll reply to them. Adios. Outro crew, what do you think? You know what? Where do you prefer to try buy local? Like I said, I would if I could. But at the moment, I think definitely Japan has my loyalty. If Harley build a bike I can afford, I'd buy one. Or Indian. I can't afford either of those, so what can you do? Bye, outro crew.